Everybody smiles in the same language. A smile, let your light come shining through.
Welcome to the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. I'm Sandra M., coming to you from Santa Fe, New Mexico, the land of enchantment. I interview people from all parts of the world about what happiness means to them. What are they in love with? In each episode, we'll give you a key to happiness to include in your life. And of course, we'll play a happy tune from my live Celebrate Happiness Roadshow.
A smile doesn't cost you anything. But there's so much good.
Welcome to the second season of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. And don't forget to catch up on any episodes from season 1 you might have missed. Today we're talking with Gail Springer, a creative by gifts of nature and education, and who has pursued her passion for music, theater, and teaching all her life. At the age of 5, Gail appeared on Albuquerque's Dick Bill's TV show in a fringed cowgirl outfit, packing a toy 6-gun and singing Deadwood Stage. During her 36 years as a professor of theater at the College of Santa Fe and the Santa Fe University of Art and Design, Gail directed over 50 plays and musicals at the Greer Garson Theatre in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and started one of the first BFA music theater degree programs in the United States. Outside of academia, she continued her career as a soprano soloist with orchestras, choirs, and bands, and was a regular soprano soloist with Serenata of Santa Fe. Since retiring from teaching in 2016, she has written and published 2 fictions, and her 3rd book will be published this May. Currently, Gail also sings with her musician husband, Pete Springer, in the contemporary acoustic rock trio, Monsoon. Welcome, Gail, to the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. You know, I'm really excited to talk with you about happiness. And why is happiness so important in your life?
That's great. Thank you so much for inviting me, Sandy. It's really great to talk to you all the time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Why is happiness so important in your life?
Why is happiness important in my life? Well, I don't think I think about happiness that much, or I try to be happy, because I think happy is sort of my default. And when bad things happen, when bad things happen or I don't feel well, when I come out of it, I go back to happiness always. So happiness seems to me to be something that is a bigger picture about my life. I feel lucky that has been my default since I was a little one. And and so many hard things happen especially as we age. Just today, I got a note this morning from a friend that she had lost her brother, and another friend of ours died.
Oh.
And it just, and that makes me, feel sad, and I grieve, but I don't feel like it affects my general happiness. It brings me down, as it should, and I feel the loss. And, but then there's something in me that bubbles up, and maybe it has to do with being alive. Just the fact that I feel lucky that I'm alive, and I use my senses around me in the moment, and I rise to the occasion of life, I guess.
I love that concept. Rise to the occasion of life. I mean, that's really profound. A lot of people, they don't even think about Okay. So there is a life force, right? And you're talking about those words. The words you're using are really interesting. Bubble up, being alive. And isn't there a song called Being Alive, as I recall, from some Stephen Sondheim musical? Is that it?
Yes, being alive. Yeah, right.
Okay, what I was saying is that this man in the musical, I can't remember the name of the musical, but he wants someone else to make him be alive. Isn't that what the song is about?
It is. He feels that he's not, how you can feel alive, not feel alive. Yeah.
So do you think it's possible for someone else to make you feel alive or on an ongoing basis, or is it an inside job? I mean, obviously it's your default.
Yeah, I do think that connection with someone else, a loving connection, is so crucial. So, yeah, I think that's what he wants in that song. He's asking to meet someone. He wants someone to help him feel alive, and I think we do feel alive relative to the people around us and through the people around us. And I mean, that's such a beautiful exchange that we have when we have dear friends and relationships and family, that there's like this flow, between everybody, and it's just sweet, really sweet, and that certainly is part of happiness, I think.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. So going back to the concept of being alive, and you mentioned something about using your senses to be in the moment. Now, I do know that you've had an extensive career directing musicals and plays, and you're very creative, and you've written 2 novellas, I think you call them, and the 3rd is coming out. So this whole concept of using your senses to be in a moment, I don't know that most people think about being in the moment. Is that something that creative people, especially actors and directors, actually use as a tool, something they learn and is very good for life? What's your idea about that?
I think the first time I even heard about the idea, I think actually as a kid growing up, I was in the moment most of the time, and it got me into a lot of trouble because I didn't plan ahead. And but the first time I actually heard of the idea of being in the moment was, that Baba Ramdas book, Be Here Now, because that's the era in which I came of age, and within meditation, so that whole concept, and then it was repeated to me in acting, and that really being on the stage with the other people and really listening to them. So the idea of listening and seeing and touching and smelling, that all those things can bring you into the moment. And I think all those senses that we have also help me to be happier. When I'm when I'm miserable, I think I shut those out, and I become like a little cocoon in myself, and that's just not a good place.
Join Sandra M. for her live performance of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, a toast to love and happiness in life, an uninhibited musical adventure guaranteed to awaken your happiness vibe. Celebrate with upbeat rhythms, love songs, and fun stories, some told by you in the audience. Sandra's musical guest and accompanist, Todd Lowry, sings his hopeful and happy originals. To book Sandra M. and the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, email sandra@sandramcknight.com. Celebrate happiness with Sandra M.
So I was just going to ask you, what's the advantage of being in the moment? And you said, I think you just said, the advantage of being in the moment is that you're happier because you're connected to everything around you. you're connected to the environment, you're connected to the other people, and you're referring to this on the stage, right? Being on the stage. Doesn't that transfer into life?
Yes. In an answer, yes. In one word, yes, I think so. At least for me, it does. It does. Sometimes I get too agitated and I'm pretty hyper, and I realize suddenly, oh my goodness, I'm just thinking about what's to come, and I'm not even listening to this wonderful person, or I haven't noticed the birds, or whatever it is. And if I just take a moment, take a breath, and try to be more in the moment, I definitely feel like I get a wave of happiness, if you call it that. Yeah.
Okay, so if we're not calling it happiness, what else could we call it? Could we say a wave of joy, a wave of well-being? Are there other words that come to your mind?
Well, the one that first comes to mind right now is my grandson. He just is a source of delight. And that is, as soon as he walks in the door, as soon as he comes out of school and I get to hug him hello and he hugs me, it is just delightful, and I'm totally there with him. So I guess delight is one of my words right now I like.
Right, delight. And then joy, well-being, better health. I'm wondering what you think. I mean, we've talked about being connected. We've talked about being in the moment. We've talked about just creating happiness as a default for your life as much as possible, even though sad things happen. How do you think being happy or being joyful or having a positive attitude affects one's health?
Well, I think it surely does. And obviously all of the recent research has been showing that stress is really bad for us. Mm-hmm. And, if we're lucky enough to have a less stressful life, I mean, I think everybody has stress in their life, and life can be pretty hard, I have found. And yet we have ways to minimize the stress. I tend to do a lot of hiking, exercise generally. I sing. Singing is a wonderful release, and I just read about another research result about singing, and that singing has a pretty significant effect on how long you live and how healthfully you live. So, and I'm sure dancing does too. And so there's something about celebrating and releasing emotion in your body, I think, that makes us healthier. I don't know if we can ward off stress and sadness and harm and all of that. That's part of life. So, and even the joys are fleeting, but that's where I get back to that life, being alive generally is what I think about when I think about happiness. Whereas words like being sad or joyful or afraid or any of the other emotions, those seem to come and go. And the more quickly they come and go, I think the better.
Right, exactly. Right. So that you can get back to your default. I love that concept of the default. I really do. I mean, I got to have that in my own life now. In other words, what is your default? And that's something that people sort of understand. I don't know why. It's become part of the lexicon now.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
The other thing that helps me keep on the default, more of an even keel, I think, is being creative. So if I can continue to be creative, to pursue creativity in my own life and in how things I do and how I relate to others and how I think, if I can be creative in how I treat other people and myself, that really helps me kind of balance off the destructive elements that I feel are around us often in the world.
Right. So how do we treat others and ourselves? One of the big things, I'm a great follower of the Dalai Lama. I've read his Book of Joy. I'm part of the Life and Mind Institute, which does a lot of research with respect to the Dalai Lama and the way he thinks and so forth. And basically, the Dalai Lama is suggesting that in the Western world, we should start teaching outside of religion, outside of any kind of spirituality, etc., but just as a class, right, in the school system, that we should start teaching a class in empathy for young children, 6 and 7 years old, in compassion, etc., just the concepts of this. And that he feels if we did this, young people would start integrating that into the way, as you just said, how they treat themselves, self-compassion, kindness, right? And how they treat other people. I'm wondering what you think about that. Kindness, compassion, empathy.
Oh, I think that's central to having a humanity that is humane. And I think it's often easier, especially I could make a statement, I don't know if it's true, but I think especially women can be more compassionate to others, and they forget to be compassionate toward themselves. And I feel like that's something that I've learned with difficulty, and am still learning. To really be kind to myself in my words that I say to myself, the silent words that my brain goes through the day. Am I treating myself as kindly as I would treat my daughter or my grandson or my loved other loved ones? Or am I, treating myself meanly and harshly and critically? So, I think others and for yourself I think that's essential to how else do we want to live on this planet together, and compassion for the animals and the nature. And, when we don't have that, we are just cruel and ugly.
Join Sandra M. for her live performance of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, a toast to love and happiness in life, an uninhibited musical adventure guaranteed to awaken your happiness vibe. Celebrate with upbeat rhythms, love songs, and fun stories, some told by you in the audience. Sandra's musical guest and accompanist, Todd Lowry, sings his hopeful and happy originals. To book Sandra M. and the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, email sandra@sandramcknight.com. Celebrate happiness with Sandra M.
Yes, absolutely. And so now we've gotten into just being compassionate toward ourselves and toward other human beings. That radiates, as you just said, out into the way we treat the planet. And of course, if we don't have the planet, we have no place to live, right?
Right.
I always have to laugh because the Dalai Lama. Go ahead.
I was just going to. There are some people who want to go to Mars, but I don't.
Right. And then the Dalai Lama, he's given a couple of speeches on this, and he basically says there's only room for what? 10 people at the most, if you're lucky to go to Mars. The rest of us have to stay here, right? So we better do something about it. Yeah. And I think it's very important. Mother Earth, as they say, Gaia, is, if we don't have this, and of course this breaks down to food production and all the things, the water, and all those basic, I don't even think people realize that it's not just a case of taking it for granted. I don't think people even pay attention to the fact, oh, I turn on the spigot and there's water, right?
Yeah. It's hard to it's hard to imagine that we actually could run out or actually could not have what we need to sustain us. So
exactly.
You said, something that made me think also that this leads to the next level of it, which my friends and I have been talking about. I have a book club, and we've been talking about how we can take positive action rather than just talk about it and do our own little, small things. How can we make a difference? And it's very easy for me to feel like the things that I might do are not important. This seems so small. I seem so small in relative to the issues that we're dealing with right now. And I know that positive action can make us happier individually. There's also research about that. So it kind of fits in with your program here that that another way to nurture happiness in all of us is to stand up and to do things and to help others and to take action.
Right, to take action. But you were saying your book club is working on how you might do something. Did you say as a group or something of that nature? What?
I don't know.
What were you discussing with the book club?
Yeah, we were discussing, the political situation and how we can, help. How we can. It doesn't make a difference too. So a few of the ladies had done some research about how it does make a difference over time to demonstrate, to set up. And I was thinking about how it makes a difference in your own self to participate in something like that.
Right. At least you're with you feel connected, as we discussed earlier, how connection is so important, right? So if you go to a protest or a demonstration that's aligned with your mindset and your feelings, you feel connected to a larger group of people and not so, quote unquote, alone, right?
Yeah.
Not able, yeah. So we do get back to that concept of.
Sorry, I get excited and I keep saying you. I'm sorry.
Go for it. No, please go for it. Yeah.
No, I was just thinking not helpless. Not that sense of helpless. Like, what can I do?
Right. So if we don't want to feel helpless, we have to reach out and touch someone, right? I forget where that comes from. I don't know who that is. Is that the post office? I don't know who it was, Uncle Sam, but whatever it is, right. You have to reach. I think it's a commercial, isn't it? But anyway, reach out and touch someone, make a connection. I think that there's so many people that I speak with who say to me, oh, Sandy, you're just a Pollyanna. You've always been a Pollyanna, as if this is a negative thing, right? And I always say to myself, well, maybe I'm lucky that way. I don't know, but I have had a background in my own life, which if you don't go forward and go on, what is the alternative?
Yes.
You see. So maybe I am a Pollyanna. However, my mantra is keep going forward. And I think, again, because I'm talking to a director and an actor and a creative, wasn't there a series in England called Carry On Nurse, this kind of thing?
I don't know.
Yes, it was like, not Monty Python, but one of those kind of British comedies back in that time. There was a very famous comedian, and he, of course, dressed up like a woman to be a nurse, right, and so forth. And the whole concept was carry on, nurse, right? So no matter what happened, the objective was carry on, right? Go forward.
That's perfect for the Brits, isn't it? Let's just move forward and deal with it. Yeah. Well, I think I think Pollyanna has something about that phrase, that word, is about a person who does not recognize their own losses, griefs, sadness, all that, and just sort of flits about on the surface of life, which I don't think is anything like what we're talking about and what you talk about.
No.
If anything, it's the opposite. So I feel like as a teen, maybe I tried to be a Pollyanna and la la la, and I was so miserable, really, and not at all la la la, but I just put that out there. And over those late teen and early 20s, I started to realize, oh my goodness, I'm actually miserable inside, and I need to look at that. And as I looked at it, I became a different quality of happy. And that it sort of goes back to what we said about letting the emotions go through you, recognizing them, seeing them, discussing them with yourself and with a therapist or however you want to do it. And anyway, I think Pollyanna is just very shallow and not you.
Join Sandra M. for her live performance of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, a toast to love and happiness in life, an uninhibited musical adventure guaranteed to awaken your happiness vibe. Celebrate with upbeat rhythms, love songs, and fun stories, some told by you in the audience. Sandra's musical guest and accompanist, Todd Lowry, sings his hopeful and happy originals. To book Sandra M. and the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow, email sandra@sandramcknight.com. Celebrate happiness with Sandra M.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, right. It's just what other people recognize. I think that, again, wasn't there a children's book about this young girl who always saw the bright side of life, that type of thing? And so wasn't her name Polly? I think. I'm trying to think of. It was one of those golden books type of thing way back when. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's how the term came in. But I think your insights are very, very true. You can't just always act like on the surface without there any depth to it and any connection and why you're really going through it. And again, being creative, I want to go back to that idea that you were saying that being creative has helped you so much. And I think that, of course, I'd like you to mention a little bit about your writing, because I think a lot of people can journal and use that as a way of being creative and having a greater understanding of their own life. So I know that you have written 2 novellas. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, well, I taught I was a professor at the College of Santa Fe and Santa Fe University of Art and Design at the Greer Garson for 36 years. And when I almost graduated, when I retired in 2016, I took up writing again. I took up writing poetry, and which I had done as a younger person. And the first thing that I wanted to do was to write about women. I wanted a poem for each woman that I imagined. And maybe each of those women were the parts of me that I was recognizing. And so I did that. I had a dozen poems or so. And I wanted to bring those characters to life. And so then I started writing this novella, and the first novella, and I've written 3 now, and the third one is going to be out within a week. And they're very connected to nature, to these issues of how to live a good life, because I don't think we can manufacture happiness. I don't think we can aim for happiness even. I think that we can live a good life, though. And I think when we do live what we consider a good, meaningful, purposeful life, I think the happiness can rise up. So I think it's a way to sustain this happiness thing, which I don't think we can directly create it, you know. Anyway, those books are they're for adults and for young adults. They're fanciful, you know. They're not the first none. Well, they're not realistic. The second one's a little bit realistic, but even that one is. I don't know. I don't want to get into too much about the books because I could go on and on.
No, but give us the titles, because I know they're on Amazon, and I would like people to be able to check them out. So Gail Springer, spelled Springer, but the name of the 3 novellas are?
Okay, Escape from Urfa, Urfa, and Two-Chambered Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is Puma Stories, like a cougar, Puma stories.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's like up my alley.
Yeah, and they're the first 2, the Two-Chambered Heart and Escape from Urfa, are also available through those library connector apps like Hoopla. And so you can actually check them out from libraries, an ebook, but the paperback book is you'd have to get through Amazon, and there's several different outlets. If you go to my website, they're listed. It's gailspringer.com.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. I just wanted to get that out there because I know how gifted and talented you are. And I've seen many of the plays and musicals because we've been friends for a long time. We won't say how long. And I just know how gifted you are. And I've seen many of the plays and musicals at the Greer Garson. And I've also had an opportunity to get the Two-Chambered Heart. So I just want to ask you, Gail, is there anything that you would like to leave our audience, any thoughts you'd like to leave for our listeners?
Well, I feel like we had a really nice, rousing conversation today, and that there's so much, again, as an opposing the idea of a Pollyanna, there's so much depth to be mined about this topic, about how to live well, how to create meaning in our lives, how to discover the parts of our lives that do generate and sustain happiness, so that our short time on earth can be a joy and something that we can share with others. And it's a learning process. I'm an old lady already, and I feel like I'm still learning about it, and I love to learn about it. And thank you, Sandy, for bringing something like this to the public. Terrific.
Thank you, Gail, so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
Monthly Keys to Happiness number 22. Take time to reflect. Set aside some time to catch up with yourself like you would with an old friend.
How are you doing? What have you been up to? Are you happier than you were a year ago?
try to let go of goals that no longer serve you.
Newsflash. Please sign up for your copy of our Keys to Happiness at sandramcknight.com. Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast. And if you enjoyed the conversation, please help spread the word by sharing with your friends and family. Before we go, I'd like to thank today's guest, Gail Springer, for sharing her happiness story. And to share your happiness story on the Celebrate Happiness Roadshow podcast, send an email to Sandra at sandramcknight.com.
Turn your smile on, you can't go wrong. You'll find that love is all around. Follow your bliss, no